Hey everybody, welcome back to Walking with Jesus Daily. This is day 221 in our series. Thought I'd just go back to what worked. 220 was weird, and although it's interesting, I'm ready to just do what I've always done. I don't know why. I like change. But I am on the road right now. This is my favorite place to be. Not apart from my family, but just here in a place that is quiet for me, a place that I enjoy, and it's kind of like a little sanctuary for me in my car. And I am driving in this incredible storm. The lightning is lighting up the sky. It's impossible not to see God's power in a storm. I mean, how does water fall from the sky? How does a cloud hold water but float? How does lightning appear out of nowhere? And how does thunder shake a car but I can't see it? I don't know. To me, it's all amazing, and all I see is God the whole time. So let's get into tonight's or today or whatever time you're listening to this lesson. We're going to be in Luke chapter 11, 37 through 44, and this is the day 221 lesson. If we just go back just for a quick second and just see where we were, where we left off yesterday, we talked about light. I hope that you thought about this some. I hope that you experimented with light a little bit to see where light can be in a dark place, to see the difference that a little bit of light can make in any place that is dark. A little bit of light is all it takes. If I'm being honest with you, just turning the flashlight on, walking through the church building in the middle of the night looking for something is just creepy to me, because we have a large church building with all these different hallways, and it's like a bunch of connected buildings. I don't know. It's uneasy for me. Mostly because I just love light and I hate darkness. I've told you before that I would be happy to sleep with the lights on, and when my wife's not there, I do sleep with the lights on. I just love the light. But regardless, I'm not afraid of the dark. I just don't prefer it. So I'll use the light on the back of my phone, or even the light of the phone that I'm carrying, to light up the area that I'm going. So I really, that little bit of light makes me feel so much better. I can't really explain why, it just does. It just does. I'm attracted to light. I like light. I love to use light. I don't like darkness. I don't like dark mode on my phone. I don't like dark, period. I just like light. So we remember that if we are seeking spiritual light, if we are looking for the truth, which is the Word of God, which is Jesus as the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God, His words, if it is Him who we are focused on, then we will have the light of Jesus in us, and that light will shine in the darkness, and that light gives light, which is a pretty cool thought. A light in you gives light to those around you. The true light. If it's your light, it's garbage light. Everybody can read through that. It's like a black light. Yeah, it might make things brighter, but really it's just looking for stains on other people. It's just looking for anything that it can point out in the darkness that's ugly. The true light gets rid of all kinds of darkness. Darkness does not exist. They cannot coexist. And it's interesting that this is where Jesus talks about right before he goes in to this next section, right? He's in this Nineveh will stand as witnesses. The Queen of Sheba will stand as witnesses, because I am greater than Solomon. I am greater than Jonah. The light that I bring is truth. And if you're looking for God and you're focused on God and your spiritual eyes are open, you will see me. You will see truth. You'll be full of me. You'll be full of truth. And that light will shine, and it will be impossible for it not to shine. And this is where we go. While Jesus was speaking, a Pharisee asked him to dine with him. So he went in and reclined at table. The Pharisee was astonished to see that he did not first wash before dinner. And the Lord said to him, "Now you Pharisees cleanse the outside of the cup and of the dish, but inside you are full of greed and wickedness. You fools! Did not he who made the outside make the inside also? But give as alms those things that are within, and behold, everything is clean for you. But woe to you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and every herb, and neglect justice and the love of God. These you ought to have done without neglecting the others. Woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seat in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces. Woe to you, for you are like unmarked graves, and people walk over them without knowing it." Wow, Jesus. You're invited into a Pharisee's house and you speak this because Jesus speaks truth. Not truth out of anger or hate, but out of love. Truth out of the words that God gives him to speak. He has no fear to speak the words that God gives him to speak. And we shouldn't be afraid of using God's words either. But see, Jesus has a way with this. Let's read the Amplified Version and the Passion Translation version. And this will help clear this up just a little bit. And then we'll kind of dig into it a bit, okay? Now, after Jesus had spoken, a Pharisee asked him to have lunch with him. He went in the Pharisee's home and reclined at the table without ceremonially washing his hands. The Pharisee noticed this and was surprised that Jesus did not first ceremonially wash before the meal. But the Lord said to him, "Now you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and plate, as required by tradition. But inside you are full of greed and wickedness. You foolish ones, acting without reflection or intelligence. Did not he who made the outside make the inside also? But give that which is within as charity, that is, as acts of mercy and compassion, not as a public display, but as an expression of your faithfulness to God. And then indeed all things are clean for you. But woe, judgment is coming to you Pharisees, because you self-righteously tithe mint and rue and every little garden herb, tending to all the minutiae, and yet disregard and neglect justice and the love of God. But these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others." And he gives reference here. There's reference here to a couple of verses. And we'll talk about these things when we come back through this. Woe to you, Pharisees, because you love the best seats in the synagogue and to be respectfully greeted in the marketplaces. Woe to you, for you are like graves which are unmarked, and people walk over them without being aware of it, and are ceremonially unclean. This is a big deal. This is why he's saying this, and we'll talk about this here in a minute. Pretty cool, right? Okay, Passion Translation. Here we go. After Jesus finished saying these things, a Pharisee asked him to come for a meal at his home. When everyone had been seated at the table, the religious leader noticed that Jesus had not performed the cleansing ritual before he began eating. He was shocked. And I'll read the notes here in the Passion Translation. This was not required by the law of Moses, but was a rule imposed by the Pharisees. This is not a part of God's law. Jesus was not sinning or opposing the very law of God. He was setting himself up for a discussion with the Pharisee to make a spiritual point from a physical opportunity here that was not a part of the law. The Lord said, "You Pharisees are like those who will wipe clean only the outside of a cup or bowl, leaving the inside filthy. You are foolish to ignore the greed and wickedness within you. Shouldn't the one who cleans the outside also clean the inside?" This note here is just saying this is translated from the Aramaic text, okay? If you free your heart of greed, show compassion and true generosity to the poor, you will have more than clean hands. You will be clean within. See, washing the hands and not cleansing the inside was like washing the outside of the bowl or the dish and not wiping the inside clean. You Pharisees are hypocrites, pretenders, actors. For you are obsessed with peripheral issues like paying meticulous tithes on the smallest herbs that grow in your gardens. Of course, these matters you should do, but when you unjustly cheat others, you ignore the most important duty of all, to walk in the love of God. Readjust your values and place first things first. It says literally, this is saying you pay tithes even on mint and dill and every other garden herb. So it's very specific here. It's literal. And then it talks about looking at Micah 6:8. And we can look at Micah 6:8. Let's look at it real quick. Micah's in the Old Testament, if you don't know, towards the end. Well, my Bible just stopped working. How about that? Never has before. Pretty cool. I love it when things just randomly don't work that have always worked before. Isn't that cool? All right. Micah 6:8. Okay, we're going to look at Micah 6:8. Let me just finish this reading real quick. Don't let me forget. All right. You Pharisees are hypocrites. You love to be honored before others with tithes of respect, seeking public recognition, aspiring to seem more important than others. And the note here says, literally greeted with respect in the marketplaces. Love to be seen like this. The Aramaic text states, you aspire to leadership of the synagogues. In other words, we're talking about like a political thing here, right? You Pharisees, what hypocrites! Your true character is hidden like an unmarked grave that hides the corruption inside, defiling all who come in contact with you. See, I'm going to tell you why. The note here explains it, but I'm going to help explain it. A strictly religious Jew was forbidden to touch a dead body or walk over a grave. It was common to whitewash the grave so no one would walk on it and be ceremonially defiled. Jesus taught that people who followed the example of the Pharisees would become morally unclean. See, the physical act of walking over a grave made you unclean, ceremonially unclean. And what Jesus is saying here is that people that followed the example of a Pharisee who was ceremonially or actually dead and had no life in him, this made all those who followed or stepped over or followed along also unclean, morally unclean. All right, let's head back to Amplified, and let's try to see if we can work Micah 6:8 in a different Bible. Micah 6, verse 8. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, except to be just, and to love, and to diligently practice kindness and compassion, and to walk humbly with your God, setting aside any overblown sense of importance or self-righteousness. And it also says to check out Deuteronomy 10, 12 and 13. So Deuteronomy 10, 12 and 13. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God require from you but to fear and worship the Lord your God with awe-filled reverence and profound respect, to walk, that is, to live each and every day in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, your choices, your thoughts, and your whole being, and to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I am commanding you today for your good. This is what the Lord requires from you. This is what he asks for. Is he not deserving of this? Let's see if I can make my way back to Luke 11. Like this, okay, let me explain something to you real quick. If this sounds like or feels like a commandment, I have to ask you, do you truly love God more than yourself, more than this world, more than the things of this world? Do you truly love God with your entire being and all that you are? Because I got to be honest with you, if you say, yes, I do, then what we just read is not a commandment. It's who you are. It's how you live. It's what you live for. It excites you. You're free. All right, let's read through this one more time. I know you're like, how many times can we read it? As many times as it takes. And I pray with my whole heart that if at any point this is like difficult for you, that you stop this recording and you pray to God and you say, God, will you please put something here to make sense? Let me tell you something that's cool about how God works. When time doesn't really exist where you are, okay? Prayer works retroactively and proactively and in the moment. Do you understand what that means? You could pray something when you listen to this a week or 10 years from now, and that prayer is answered before with what God gives me to say next, or what he puts in your mind next, or what his words in the Amplified text are next. Do you believe that? You should. It's the truth. We limit the power of prayer in amazing ways. The power of prayer is far beyond the power that you give it, because it is God. Why do we limit God? Stop ranting, Dan. Move on. Okay, here we go. Now, after Jesus had spoken, after he said these words, right? These words are not popular. Okay? They're not popular words. If we look back here, just a short time, okay? Jesus starts this in verse 14, and at another time, Jesus was casting out a demon, and the crowds were awed. But some of them said he drives out demons by the power of Beelzebul. Others, trying to test him, were demanding of him a sign from heaven. Okay? And then he spoke, and he kept speaking. And then more people were gathering, and he kept speaking, and he kept speaking, and he kept speaking, until we get to verse 37. This is one moment that we've broken down over days, but time matters to us, even if it doesn't matter really to God. It doesn't exist in that place. It says, after Jesus had spoken, after he had said all these things, after he'd been accused of having Beelzebul in him, after he calls people out, after he tells them the only sign you're going to get is the sign of Jonah, right? He says, a Pharisee asked him to have lunch with him. We do not know, because we're not told, what the desire of this Pharisee was. Was it to, was the intent and the heart of this Pharisee to bring Jesus down? Was the intent of this Pharisee to challenge Jesus? Was this Pharisee there to learn and invite Jesus in and want to know more? We don't have that information, right? Doesn't say. It just said he was invited into the Pharisee's home and he reclined at the table. And you know what? I said I was going to try this, and I never did. I never reclined at table. I never laid down on my side to eat. Oh, I got to remember to do that so I can talk about it and tell you guys what it was like. But anyway, regardless, reclined at table. And if this Pharisee was a true Pharisee, he ceremonially washed his hands, as the Jews did, but not under the law of Moses. Now, it's not uncommon to wash your hands before you eat and after you eat. Okay, that makes sense. But it's not a requirement. It doesn't make you clean. It may clean your hands. It doesn't make you clean. Everything with Jesus is spiritual. It says the Pharisee noticed that Jesus didn't wash his hands, and he was surprised. He was surprised. Jesus knows the thoughts of men. He knows the thoughts of this Pharisee. He knew the intentions of this Pharisee. He knew the opportunities that were awaiting him because he listened to God. So the Lord speaks up. Jesus speaks up. It doesn't say that the Pharisee said anything. It just says that Jesus speaks up. And he says, now you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and plate, as required by your traditions. Okay? And he says this, but inside You are full of greed and wickedness. Whoa, 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 whoa. What happened here, Jesus? I thought we're talking about cups and plates, like cleaning the outside of the cups and plates, which is required by tradition. What? Why are you calling us greedy and wicked? But this is how Jesus begins his tableside lunch chat. I'm just reading it. I'm just trying to be there. I'm trying to picture being in this place. Inside, you are full of greed and wickedness. Listen to the two things that Jesus mentions carefully. Greed. Look up the tradition of greed. I dare you. I bet you don't like it because I don't like it. Greed. It's what he says. Greed and wickedness. He puts the two together. He then calls them foolish. Greedy, wicked, and foolish. Good start. Should be a great lunch today. You foolish ones, acting without reflection or intelligence. Wow. Did not he who made the outside make the inside also? He's referring to something that the Pharisee would know very, very well. Tradition, cleansing hands, washing a cup, washing a plate. Right? He's making sure that this is easy to understand. And then he talks about the inside of a Pharisee. And then he's going to go and he's going to say, do you not agree that the Creator that made the inside also made the outside? The one who made the outside also made the inside? So he says, but give that which is within as charity. Give what which is within? He says acts of mercy, acts of compassion. Not as a public display, not as a look at me. Apparently the Pharisees had a problem with pride and wickedness and greed and foolishness and not reflecting, no self-reflection, just looking to see how great I am. Not as a public display, but to be merciful and compassionate as an expression of your faithfulness to God. And then, indeed, all things are clean for you. That true cleansing, not just an external washing of hands. Let me tell you that if you've ever pretended to be one person in front of your parents, and another person in front of your spouse, and another person in front of your children, and another person in front of your work friends, and another person in front of your friends, and another person in front of your church friends, if you've ever pretended to be different people, I have. I have. It's exhausting. I quit. I died to that. I don't want to be that person anymore. There are places and there are things that do lift our spirits up. There are people that lift our spirits up, and there are people that bring us down. That's not pretending to be a different person. But I'm talking about pretending to be one thing when inside you're greedy and wicked and prideful. Not your definition of greed, wicked, and prideful, God's. Because God's definition is if you're not humble and in awe of me, these are things that are you. If you're only being kind to other people so that everyone around you can see how you're kind and compassionate to other people, you're just really doing yourself a service. You're uplifting yourself. It's an expression of faithfulness to God. But Jesus goes on, he says, but woe to you. Judgment is coming on you, Pharisee, and anyone who acts like a Pharisee. Because you self-righteously, you lift up yourself when you tithe mint and rue and every little garden herb, tending to all the minutia, and yet disregard and neglect justice and the love of God. This is Micah 6:8. But these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. So yes, you should have tithed, not self-righteously, but you neglected justice and the love of God. And these are things that you're supposed to uphold as Pharisees. See, the required offering of 10% is what's being spoken of here. That's why we're talking about this tithe. You tithe these things self-righteously, and yet you neglect the very things that God wants from you. You tithe so that you are not tied to wealth and greed and pride. You tithe so that you're freely willing to give to God the very best of what you have because you love Him and because that's just. But instead you tithe and you give to make yourself feel better and to make yourself look better. Not because you love God, not because you want to be just and kind and loving to other people, but it's about you. It's all about you. It's always been about you. Leviticus 27:30, let's check it out. And all the tithe, 10th part of the land, whether the seed of the land or the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy to the Lord. That's pretty cool. It gives a mention to a couple other verses. If we have sown the good seed of spiritual things in you, is it too much if we reap material things from you? That's 1 Corinthians 9:11. Galatians 6:6. The one who is taught the Word of God is to share all good things with his teacher, contributing to his spiritual and material support. interesting notes there. It says, "Woe to you, Pharisees, because you love the best seats in the synagogues and to be respectfully greeted in the marketplaces." See, these seats were located near the scrolls of the law, facing the congregation in the synagogue. It wasn't wrong to be in that seat. See, it was wrong because they loved those seats. It's not wrong to have money. It's wrong to love money. Do you understand? It's not wrong to have a thing or a house or whatever. It's wrong to love those things more than you love God. Woe to you, for you're like graves which are unmarked. They're not whitewashed. They're not a warning for people to see so they know, hey, don't step here. You will be unclean, ceremonially unclean. You're not whitewashed. You're not marked. Well, I'm marking you, says Jesus. You're not marked so that people don't know not to follow you. But if they follow you, they are unclean before the Father. Because, see, you don't believe in me. You don't even follow God. You just want to make it look like you follow God so that you can be lifted up. You are like graves which are unmarked, and people walk over them without being aware of it and are made unclean. Brothers and sisters, friends, people listening to this, enemies, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're hearing this, this is calling out to all of us Pharisees. Because we've all been a Pharisee at some point or another in our lives, or maybe currently. There is so much more to life. There is a way for us to live like Jesus asks for us to live. Walk humbly before God. Can we read Micah 6:8 one more time, and then the lesson is yours? I want to read from the beginning of Micah. Hear now what the Lord is saying. All right, listen up. Arise, plead your case before the mountains, and let the hills as witnesses hear your voice. Hear, O mountains, the indictment of the Lord, and you enduring foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a case, a legal complaint against his people, and he will dispute and challenge Israel, his chosen people. O my people, what have I done to you since you have turned away from me? And how have I wearied you? Answer me. What have I done? For I brought you up from the land of Egypt and ransomed you from the house of slavery. See, hear, O fill-in-the-blank name, Daniel. What have I done to you that has caused you to put your love and your trust in something that is not me? Do you not remember? Do you not remember the darkness that I brought you out of? Do you not remember the slavery to sin that you were a part of that I freed you from? I sent you before Moses to lead you, Aaron the high priest and Miriam the prophetess. I sent Jesus to you, Dan. My people remember now what Balak, king of Moab, devised with his evil plan against Israel. What Satan, the prince of darkness, planned against you, Dan. And what Balaam the son of Beor answered him, turning the curse into a blessing for Israel. Remember what the Lord did for you from Shittim to Gilgal, so that you may know the righteous and saving acts, displaying the power of the Lord. Do you not remember rising up out of that watery grave, Dan? Do you not remember the war that was waged and won for you in the name of Jesus? With what shall I come before the Lord to honor him and bow myself before God on high? What shall I come before him with burnt offerings? With yearling calves? Will the Lord be delighted with thousands of rams, or with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I present my firstborn for my acts of rebellion, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? Do I, Dan, I have nothing to offer you, God? Would even my own son, would Riker cleanse me and save my soul if I offered him to you? Verse 8, he has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? Not 10,000 rams, not rivers of oil, not even your firstborn, your love, your lineage. No, Dan, not your house or your cars, not your wife or your children. This is what the Lord requires of you: to be just, and to love, and to diligently practice kindness and compassion, and to walk humbly with your God, setting aside any overblown sense of importance or self-righteousness. This is what the Lord your God requires of you. And then we say, no, can we please do anything but that? I'll offer you up whatever you want. I just love me. I love finding comfort in the things of this world. And he says, walk humbly with me. Bow before me. Be just and loving, kind and compassionate like I am, like Jesus is. This is what I require of you, my humble servant. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.